So first of all, we're probably about to enter into it's a buying season. Let's just be honest. We're in September. We got, fall is of course approaching, which means that it's time to think about starting to get turkeys. It's time to start thinking about Christmas, all that fun stuff, which means rack stores are starting to really beef up their stock again. So I'm going to give you 10 fragrances that you might want to be on the lookout for in your local Burlington, Ross, TJ Maxx, whatever it may be. I'm going to give you 10 fragrances. 9 are going to be clones. 1 is going to be a designer that you might be on the lookout for in your local rack store. Stick around. All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, and you are watching SmellGoodz. I appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit as we run through, talk through, discuss more of these fragrances, more of these SmellGoodz. Hence the name, right? If this is content that you enjoy, you know what to do by now. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, request notifications, share, meet me in the comments, and if that elusive hype button shows around, go ahead and hit that for brother. All right. As I mentioned, now, from time to time, I will hit up a rack store, right? I really don't do a whole lot of purchasing as far as retail unless it's at, let's say, a Burlington. Burlington's here where I live. They work. Ross, Marshalls, no. TJ Maxx, yeah, right? And so occasionally, and a lot of things that I've gotten in my collection have been, not a lot, but enough, have been through the use of places like Burlington, right? And so, in fact, I think I've seen 1 or 2 of you in my Burlington. In fact, one of you recently was like, "Hey, I know you." Yeah. So I'm in the streets, right? I'm not in the streets that way. I'm in the streets, in these fragrance streets. And so as a result, I'm out seeing what's there every time I step into a Burlington, whether I'm looking for stuff for me, looking for wife, or we're just hanging out. I stop through, I'm looking through, seeing what's there. And so I want to give you some fragrances that I have either sourced directly myself from a rack store, or that in my journeys, I may have already purchased it through other means, but I see it in the rack store. So these are 10 fragrances that you may want to be on the lookout for. No particular order. This is not a 10 through 1 as far as ranking them. I'm just giving you 10. That's my gift to you today. All right. First one up is one that I've actually purchased I think this was at a TJ Maxx. And this was Callouts Island, which is their take on Le Beau Le Parfum by Jean Paul Gaultier. Now, here's a quick tip, quick hint. Some places, because not everybody knows fragrance the way you and I do, right? Because we know what's going on. But sometimes you might have to look in the women's section because some stuff may be hiding over there. In fact, this is one that was sitting right in the women's section, right under, what is it? Daisy by Marc Jacobs. And it was, Burberry Goddess and what have you, some of those other things. And so it's like, yeah, can I get that out of the box, out of the case? Yeah. So that's another tip for you. Look at me dropping knowledge for you. But anyway, we're talking Callouts Island, sweet, woody coconut, definitely good for summer. In fact, this was one of my top summer fragrances for me, top compliment getters, if I remember correctly. But this is one that if you're on the lookout, if you're on the hunt and on the prowl, seeing what fragrances might be out there, and the prices, typically one of the reasons about rack stores for me is that typically the price is going to be about where I would find it on discounters. In fact, I might save myself the shipping and handling, or it might be just a little more than what I might find on the discounters. But when I take into account shipping and handling, it's basically about the same, right? And I can pick it up, get that immediate gratification. All right. But yeah, Island by Callouts, or Callouts Island, is definitely one you want to think about and look for in your nearby rack store. All right. Next one up is one that I recently picked up. It is one that I had been kind of looking for, not searching like in vain, searching and really pushing towards getting. It was like, if I see it, great. If I don't, I don't. But what it's doing is doing a really good job of doing its take of. This is from Latafa and from their Pride collection. This is La Collection d'Antiques 1910. I don't know the significance of 1910, but this is the one with the motorcycle on the bottle. And again, this is doing a pretty good take on 1 million elixir. yeah, vanilla, woody, little fruits in there. Definitely something that works, something you might want to be on the lookout for in your local rack store. All right. Next one up is one that I did not purchase from my rack store, but I have started seeing it there recently. I got this when it came out last year sometime, and it was definitely, for last fall and winter, definitely a compliment getter. It was one that no matter when I wore it, hey, you smell good. Appreciate it. All right. But yeah, this is one, and you can see, yeah, that's a legit dent in there that I have from wearing it last fall and winter. This one is Latafa's The Kingdom. The Kingdom. This is their take on Le Male Elixir from Jean Paul Gaultier. Again, just a nice vanillic scent. Not an overly powerful vanillic scent, but vanilla aromatics. Yeah, does a good job. Does a good job of performing. Does a good job of getting compliments. And if you see this in your rack store, I'm giving you the go ahead. You might want to scoop it up. Again, The Kingdom from Latafa. All right. Next one up is one that, again, I did not source it from a rack store directly. I've seen it. Now be mindful, make sure you are purchasing the Intense, not the other teriyaki. The other teriyaki, I believe, is for, I'm sorry, I gave the name anyway, but we're talking Teriyaki Intense from Latafa, which is, I think, one of their best fragrances, period, right? This is not a clone of anything. This is in the space of an Angel Share, but it's definitely not a clone or an Angel Share clone. This is its own thing. I think Quentin Beach, if I remember correctly, is the perfumer that did this, who's done major stuff for other brands, other houses. So I would consider this. Can we have the conversation how this might be a niche fragrance from Latafa? Right. But this is one that if you could find it in the rack store, and getting back to my original point, make sure you are looking for and find the Teriyaki Intense and not the Teriyaki. The Teriyaki, I think, is more for women. This is the more unisex and the one that is more, that I'm going for. But again, if you find this, you have my permission, go ahead and grab it. You have my suggestion. You don't need my permission. You have my suggestion. Pick it up. Again, Teriyaki Intense from Latafa. All right. Next one up is one that, again, I did not source from the rack store, but I've seen it in the rack stores recently. And especially as we enter into fall and winter, it's probably a good time to maybe look for it. If you see it, grab it. If you got to beat somebody up for it, don't tell them I told you, but do what you got to do, grab it, right? We're talking about another one from the House of Latafa, and this is Mashrabia. Sweet tobacco, cinnamon. Yeah, this is their take on Killian's Smoking Hot. Not a one-to-one. Good job, decent job, really good performer. Yeah, this is one of the fragrances that, especially as we get into fall and winter, I'm definitely looking forward to wearing. I'm definitely looking forward to rocking it. So my suggestion, you don't need my permission. My suggestion, you might want to check this one out when you see it, right? Burlington is where I've sourced a lot of this. I've seen this in Burlington a lot, right? If I have any video, I'll try and remember to post it up here, but I went in there one time and it was just like, they got a shipment in and they were there. So again, Mashrabia from Latafa is another one to be on the lookout for. All right. Next one up is one that I got from, this was a TJ Maxx. This is another one it was kind of hiding. Sometimes y'all know in a TJ Maxx, especially if your TJ Maxx uses like the case to like hide stuff away. Like it depends on the time of year, because there's some times where they just have it kind of sitting on shelves and you can tell it's been picked through, what have you. And then like the really, if they have Creed, or if they have, what's the other thing I've seen like Byredo, they'll have that locked up in a case. But sometimes just like your Middle Eastern brands, they'll be kind of just sitting out. This one was sitting in a case and it was locked up and it was hidden behind a couple of things. And I was looking, trying to scope out, and I saw the box and I was like, Let me at least check it out because that box looks familiar. And sure enough, it was this. This is from Rayhan. This is Rayhan Crimson. Rayhan Crimson. Now this is their take on Creed Centaurus, which some people liked Creed Centaurus, especially of the releases that came out last year. Some people didn't care for it. I personally was one that was like, of the two that came out last year, Delphinus and Centaurus, Centaurus was the one that I was choosing. Centaurus was the one that I was going for. I really enjoyed, if you've been around the channel, you know that one of the notes that I really appreciate and enjoy happens to be tobacco. Does a really good job of it. And Crimson does a pretty good job of getting that DNA correct. Not a one-to-one, but at least puts you in the space of it. So this is something that you may check your TJ Maxx, because this is where I've seen it. And this is where I picked it up from, but you may check, your rack stores, see what shipments they got. If they've got this is something also to check out, Rayhan Crimson. All right. Next one up is one that I really like very recently, like extremely recently, was able to pick up. One I had been on the lookout for. Another one of those that if I saw it, I was going to grab it, but I wasn't going out of my way. And it probably was in my cart a few times, especially, around this time last year, or whenever it came out. And then it was like, I just never pulled the trigger on it, but I saw it recently and was like, good price. It's there. Let's pick it up. Bottle design is kind of crazy, but we're talking about from Latafa. This is his confession. These are my confessions. Yes. So his confession, which is doing its take on Gentleman EDP from Givenchy, however you want to pronounce it. Vanilla, amber. You've got the iris note in there that kind of just pumps out as well. So far, and again, like I said, very recent pickup. Haven't spent a whole lot of time with it, but I can tell you just off of initial impression as far as scent profile, as far as just how it plays off of my skin. Definitely something that I am glad I picked up, but also something that if you're looking for, a rack store find and you see this might be something to check out. Again, this is his confession from Latafa. All right. Next one up is one that, again, I did not source it directly from a discount, from a rack store, but it is one that I'm seeing. In fact, I was just at Burlington the other day, and it was like they had a full section of them. It was just like all of them, and it was it and its cousins, right? I'm talking about from Latafa. This is Assad Bourbon, which vanilla, cacao, just sweet lavender. This, I think it came out late last year, so it will be in the running as far as of my pickups for 2025. I think it will be in the running for kind of like being in that top fragrances. And I might do in fact, I will do a video towards the end of the year as far as like recapping the year for a fragrance for me. But this one definitely is one that is going to be in the running or in the conversation, as it were, for one of my top pickups for the year. Now, it may not be top overall. It might be top clone or top Middle Eastern brand, whatever it may be, right? This is not doing its take on anything in particular that I can pick up. It's in the space of like an Azaro Most Wanted or something of that nature. Nice, sweet, vanillic type of fragrance. This, for me, just sits well as a designer kind of take on a sweet fragrance, right? So again, from the house of Assad, for the house of Latafa, whoa, that would have been problematic. But from the house of Latafa, we have Assad Bourbon. All right, be on the lookout. Next one up is one that I've seen it, and I've seen its not so good smelling brother. These are of the same imprint, the same line of that imprint, as it were. This one smells great. The other one, I'm not that pleased with, not that impressed with. But the one that you want to check out, at least upon my recommendation, and if you see it, grab it. We're talking about from French Avenue. This is Spectre Ghost. Reason I say that, I think it's Spectre Wraith that I'm not really impressed with, not really a fan of. If you see Wraith, keep walking. To the left, to the left, to the right, whatever it may be, keep walking. But if you see Ghost, put it in your cart, do your other shopping, but make sure that cart does not leave your eyesight. and then go ahead and check out. Okay. But again, this is French Avenue Spectre Ghost, which is their take on Nishane Ani. Is it? I want to say, yeah, Nishane Ani. Yes. Just lemon vanilla type of bomb. It's just the way I easily describe this. Great scent, great profile, and it does get better as it goes along. In all honesty, when I first got in, first sprayed it, I was like, it's okay. But after this macerated, after this did what it was supposed to do, this thing turned into something that I'm like, yeah, it's made my top as far as French Avenue, as far as winter, all those fun things. This is one that, again, if you see it, check it out. You might want to pick it up. Again, Spectre Ghost from French Avenue. All right. Another one that I sourced before or sourced outside of a discounter, but I'm seeing a lot of it. And it is one that for me has been a powerhouse. Definitely love this fragrance. Definitely one that I enjoy. I'm talking about from Hawas, or Rasasi, I should say. This is Hawas Black. This is their take on Nishane Hasavat. Yeah. Now, is this potent? Absolutely. This is potent. I've heard some people refer to this as headache inducing. I can see that. I can understand that. For me, it's not that. It's just a great, powerful, potent fragrance that does a great job of lasting, a great job of surviving, moving around, heat, whatever it may be. Does a great job, performance, longevity, all those things, and the scent profile I enjoy. If you are looking for that smokiness, yeah, this is it. This is from, again, Rasasi Hawas Black, and I'm seeing this an awful lot in discounters, or excuse me, in rack stores right now. Definitely one that you want to check out, put your nose on, and what have you. All right. Next one up, and the last one that I'll give you is one that now I personally have not seen it in the rack store, but someone who, my guy Walt over at Fat Boy Finesse, this is where he got his. It is one that I don't know if they fully did what they should have done, in my opinion, as a launch in the US, just because it hasn't really hit this. Well, it was kind of like there at, as far as an announcement. And then it seemed as if there was nothing. I went to a couple of retail stores, and they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of it. But then I found it on Fragrance Buy when Fragrance Buy was still allowing us to purchase from them before they kind of shifted us over to Fragflex. And so that's how I picked it up. But my guy Walt over at Fat Boy Finesse said that he picked it up at a rack store. So I'm gonna take his word for it. And so if you see this in your rack store, yeah, we're talking about from the House of Mont Blanc, and this is a designer. This is Mont Blanc Explorer Extreme. Now, they of course have the Explorer that's been in the rack stores, ever since even I started getting into fragrance. But the Extreme, for a fragrance that just came out this year, early part of 2025, and we're not out of 2025 yet. We just got into the last. Well, no, we're not even in the last quarter of 2025. We still got a month to go before we get into the last quarter. For it to already show up in discounters in rack stores, for me, I just don't know that they did the launch right. But I'm not in marketing. They didn't ask my opinion, but it is what it is. But if you do happen to see this right here, Explorer Extreme, again, the Extreme, to give you kind of a frame of reference as far as scent profile, this is Aventus Absolute and Aventus Absolute and Sauvage Elixir getting together, having a baby. That's what this is. Now, I think you get more of the Sauvage Elixir than the Aventus Absolute, but you get both of those kind of there, not competing with each other, complementing each other, and they're there providing a great scent that for me works very well for the fall and winter. So I'm really looking forward to, as it gets a little cooler in these parts where I live, this is something that I'm really looking forward to wearing. I've worn it a couple of times, just kind of like at home, just testing it out. If I had to go into the office and I was just going straight into the office, wasn't doing anything else that day, I've worn it a couple of times just because the office is temperature controlled, right? We got these big behind fans that keep it cool in there. So again, from Mont Blanc and this is the last one I'll give you, I think. Yeah, because I think I've given you 10. This is Mont Blanc Explorer Extreme. All right, that's it. I have run through and I have given you 10 fragrances to be on the lookout for in your nearby rack stores. If there are other things that you're finding that you're like, Kevin, you didn't mention this, I'm seeing this, definitely put it in the comments, let us know, because we're approaching that time where they're only going to get more and they're only going to have more stuff. Last year, I was making it my business to go to rack stores just to see what was there, because there was an abundance of stuff that was just popping up at rack stores. So this is your opportunity again to see what's out there and to share that with the community. All right. Do me the favor, of course, as always, stay safe, stay sane, stay smelling good. Do me the honor of hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, requesting notification, sharing, and hitting that hype if you see it. And then, of course, check out the next video that's on the rotation, or any of the videos that are swimming around my head right now. Appreciate you stopping through. Y'all, see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.